2 years can feel like an eternity and a blink at once. For 24 months, she had been a different woman at home than the one I saw in the photos she posted on Monday mornings. Smiling at the farmer's market, praising a new book at her staff pick post, baking cupcakes for our neighbor. At work, she was polished, efficient, praised in emails from leadership. At night, she was warm, distracted, and sometimes too tired to kiss me goodnight. I had learned to live with those small absences. I hadn't realized they were tracks. It started with a receipt I found tucked between the warranty papers for our dishwasher. A parking stub from a private garage in the city 2 towns over, dated, stamped, anonymous. I assumed nothing at first. The next month, a dry cleaning ticket with a tailor's name I didn't recognize. Then a calendar entry she'd accidentally left visible on the kitchen tablet. 2 p.m., lunch with A. Curiosity is a dangerous thing. It grows teeth the moment you feed it. I fed it. I don't have the temperament for breaking down doors. I have the temperament for following patterns. 2 years in a marriage had taught me her rhythms, her rituals, her small lies. So I began to map. Every unexplained receipt, every sudden expense, every work call, at odd hours became a note on a map I drew on paper, red pen crossing intersections like a crime board in an old detective show. The pattern that emerged was not neat. It was deliberate. She had a rhythm. Client dinners on Thursdays, conference, weekends every quarter, reimbursements for consulting, that matched the dates she was out of town. The same initials kept appearing on emails I couldn't open. AM/AS. And then a name surfaced when a forwarded message accidentally landed in the wrong inbox at work. I learned to wait until the misstep, then pounce with patience. I started small and legal, pulling together bank statements, credit card charges, corporate expense reports I had joint access to. I archived social media posts and cross-checked them with travel itineraries. I used public records to trace shell companies that appeared in billing lines. When the evidence demanded expertise beyond my spreadsheet, I hired professionals, a private investigator to document meetings, a forensic accountant to trace funds, an employment lawyer to explain how workplace policies might respond. What we uncovered was shocking in its ordinariness. 2 years of a covert relationship had been underwritten by a network of misclassified expenses, phantom vendors, and falsified timesheets. She had bootstrapped a side arrangement through her company's vendor portal, consulting contracts that padded invoices and diverted a portion of payments to accounts controlled by a man who, it turned out, wasn't just a lover, but a senior executive at the same firm she lauded in her Monday posts. He had the title, the access, and the arrogance to think they were invincible. The forensic accountant's report became my scalpel. It showed transfer patterns, reimbursements that were approved by the executive in question, and travel expenses that matched non-work trips. The investigator provided photos of late-night dinners in hotel lobbies, check-ins at Airbnbs, and a weekly routine of meetings that coincided with conference calls she claimed to have been on. The employment lawyer drew a line between policy violations and potential conflicts of interest. The same rules that protect a company's fiduciary health could, when broken, cost careers. I did not collect evidence to shame her in private. I collected it to make the decision impossible to ignore. For months I waited while the pieces were assembled into something irrefutable. Revenge is most effective when it looks less like vengeance and more like inevitability. The break came on a gray Tuesday. I sent a single email to HR at both their companies. One packet for hers, one for his, with a cover letter and attachments. Chronological evidence, bank statements, vendor forms, screenshots, and the investigator's sworn affidavit. I included a note to the board members I'd identified in public filings. I forwarded the same packet to our lawyer and to the forensic accountant. The email went out with the quiet click of a done thing, and then the waiting for institutional motion began. Institutions are ruthless in their own language. Within 48 hours, internal audits were launched. Within a week, both employees were placed on administrative leave pending investigation. The press came next, predictable, insensitive, and precise. The narrative that started as 2 private lives intertwined became corporate malfeasance in a headline. Executive and senior manager under investigation for conflicts of interest, read the first online blip. Her professional achievements were footnoted in the same breath as the charges. His board position was suspended. She came home the day the company announced the inquiry like a person who had had the floor pulled out from under her. Her face had that strange translucence people get when the world strips away the props they used to stand on. She tried to negotiate, apologies, explanations, threats of exposure, and I responded with a measured silence that was colder than any argument. I had not built this to be about theatrical ruin. I had built it to be about consequence. At the disciplinary hearing, HR presented the documents I'd assembled: falsified vendor invoices, expense reports that coincided with romantic trips, and a clear pattern of preferential approvals. The board at his company moved quickly. Their bylaws did not tolerate conflicts. The legal teams discussed restitution, ethics violations, and the optics of keeping employees with compromised judgment. By the time settlement talks started, careers were already unraveling. She blamed pressure, flattery, feeling invisible at home, sentiments that sound like pleas when you are under indictment. He blamed ambition, boundaries crossed in the echo chamber of power. The courts and corporations cared less for the poetry of excuses than for ledgers and policies. Professional consequences followed: suspended licenses, clawed-back bonuses, and reputational damage that would shadow them for years. They lost certain clients, and one board removed him before any settlement could be made public. The social fallout mirrored the professional. Colleagues who once sent congratulatory notes began to keep their distance. Invitations to panels and conferences were rescinded. Mutual friends graded their silence carefully, as if affiliation were contagious. In the weeks that followed, people who had once toasted their names at office parties now avoided eye contact in grocery aisles. Careers are fragile not only because of formal sanctions, but because trust, once fractured, is hard to rebuild. I did not gloat. The victory tasted like cold arithmetic. Justice rendered not by spectacle, but by systems doing the work I'd fed them. Her reputation, once curated by polite emails and curated photos, lay open to audit. His power that had felt immovable showed joints. The marriage ended quietly: divorce papers, a division of assets, and the finality of legal closures. Later, friends asked if I had felt relief. I told them the truth: relief was complicated. There was a satisfaction in writing a ledger, in ensuring that deceit had tangible consequences. But there was also an ache for what had once been: the ordinary mornings, the cups of coffee, the illusions we'd both preserved for convenience. Accountability had been done. Healing would be a different project. In the end, building the case was not just revenge. It was a methodical rewriting of a story that had been stolen from me. 2 careers, 2 lives, collapsed because of choices they made together in the dark. I had not sought to ruin for sport. I had sought to make private betrayal accountable in the language those who wielded power would understand: evidence, audit, and consequence. When the last envelopes arrived, settlement documents, termination letters, and a terse email from the firm acknowledging an internal failure, I folded them into a drawer. The board's actions could not bring back 2 years. They could not mend the nights she'd been absent. They could, however, make sure that deceit bore a cost. That was the calculus I had mastered when love became ledger. Every action has an account, and every account, eventually, must be balanced.